When I was younger, I lived in this house, and in the backyard, it was like a concrete patio, and it had like a little heading thing, like a little sheltered tin shelter roof, whatever. And for about like 3 years in a row, me and my brother, for Christmas, we would get toy cars, remote control toy cars, and we would always get excited because we would take them and drive them in our back patio, and it was cold outside, so we had a glass door, and we'd be inside the house controlling the remote control cars from inside the house. And those were honestly like probably the best times because being like whenever I was younger, like I loved playing in the backyard. I loved playing in my backyard. I had, you know, sports balls like football. Me and my brother would toss footballs, and I had like basketballs, and we'd play like baseball with the little like the tee stands or whatever. And now that I'm older, I don't really find the joy in that anymore. Like obviously, like what I once used to whenever I was a kid. And as I get older, a lot of these joys, clearly I have like a mindset. Like my mindset changes, and like the things that I obviously used to enjoy when I was younger, uh, they don't bring me that same joy anymore. And this kind of got me thinking, like, when was the last time that I was in my backyard? When was the last time that I found joy in these things that used to make me happy whenever I was a kid? And then, a second question came into my mind, like, when was the last time that I saw Jesus through the eyes of like my little kid self? I saw this video of it was a podcast with his dad and his daughter, probably like 7. She was probably like 7 years old. She was a toddler, and they were talking about Jesus, and the way that this guy's daughter talks about Jesus inspired me. Like it really inspired me because whenever whenever we're or honestly, if you just go up to like a little kid that goes to church and you just talk to them about Jesus, it's really interesting because they see Jesus as like a superhero, like s- someone that we or as something that we all saw Jesus at one point in our lives. And as we get older, that version of Jesus begins to fade away. Not saying that it turns in that not saying that turns into like something negative, but now we see Jesus as like this omniscient being in the sky that is far away from us and will only help us whenever or sorry, not help us, but like is distant but is there compared to when we're younger. Like we thought that Jesus was with us. We thought that Jesus was a superhero. We thought that just this way that we this childlike way that we viewed Christ. And I was just like, even I have a 6 year old brother too, and like even the way that he speaks about Jesus as well is just like it's very inspiring. And I think somewhere along the way, like I definitely lost that. And not saying that in like a bad way, it's me saying it in a way like I need to go back to how I once viewed Jesus. not viewing him as this person that's always distant from me but will help me in times of need, but as someone who is my superhero, who can take care of me and do these things, like, and can like do wonders, really. And I don't know, like I always think back to this version of me that was younger who saw the world in like a different lens. Obviously everything seems a lot more better. Everything seems a lot better whenever you're a kid, and you don't realize like all these things that are just going on in the world, and it it can be very discouraging, especially with the times that we're living in right now. You know, wars going on, people are more divided than ever, and it's hard to forget that there's a God out there who is more near to us and closer to us than ever before. And somewhere along the way that like as I mentioned, like somewhere along the way it just got somehow that got skewed. You know, me chasing like these worldly pleasures as well, like that is definitely something um, that is something that aided the way that aided the change in the way that I saw Jesus. And it's I'm in a season like as I mentioned before, like I'm in a season in my life where I am questioning a bunch of things. There's always a bunch of regret whenever I did get caught up in like the things of this world. Like none of these things bring me no like they never brought me any pleasure. And I was seeking pleasure from the world whenever I was in this little rebellious phase, if you want to put it like that. I mean, I don't know. And I think whenever I let the world change how I viewed God, that's whenever I began to question him. And it's really weird too because like I did this to myself, and there's no one to blame but me. Like I'm the one that chose to go out and do and chase these things. I'm the one that chose to do these actions that went against God. And like there's no one to blame but myself. And I am the reason why my view of God changed somewhere along the way. But, thank God for his grace and forgiveness, and I've learned sorry, there's a plane. But I've learned in this journey, or in this season, like I've learned a lot about myself and a lot more about God and who he is, and it's been one heck of a journey as well. And one thing that I pray is that like I go back to this way that I used to view God. Like I think not that I yearn for it, but like just think about like the innocence and like of a child and how they just viewed Jesus. It's just like it's literally such like an amazing thing, and that is something that I would like to go back to. And so I and I think, I'm on my way to doing that. As I've said, this season I've learned a lot more about God, and I've really used this season as a way to lean on God, more than I ever have. And like I've said, thank God for His grace and forgiveness, because this path that I'm going, this path that I was going down, man, was only it would have led me to just more confusion and exhaustion. And I'm like, I'm just tired of. I can't believe I never got tired of seeking worldly pleasure. I can't believe I never got tired of just seeking the things of this world and leaning on other things that weren't Christ. And so, but I mean, it's a beautiful day. Beautiful day today. Nice little breeze, and you know, just thank God for waking me up this morning and blessing me with a new day. And that's another thing too. Like, I've learned to see God in more things. And when you see God in more things, that also helps to aid in just the way that you view Him. View Him as this creator, this artist. And it's just a funny just it's just a funny thing. Um, but I just really had to plop out here and just record like a quick video, just to show my appreciation for today. Today was a really good day, and the the change in the change in mindset really helps, because I was such like I was the person to think like, what's the worst that could happen. And I know that's not a great way to think, but that the mindset switch really helped me to just see God in more things. And so, but it's getting dark pretty soon. I just wanted to come out here and just make a quick video. But learn to see God in more things. If you have, and even if you have like siblings, ask them about Jesus, and you'll be like, it's really truly like a wonderful thing. And eventually I'd like to go back to that. But that's gonna be it for today, guys. Peace.